Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you, this is happening. How's it going, guys? It's Nate here, and with the recent announcement of Fallout 76, I've been on a bit of a Fallout 4 kick, leading the Brotherhood of Steel to glory once more. And I began to think, we talk a lot about Skyrim's hidden secrets on this channel, so what about Fallout 4's? Surely, nearly 3 years after its initial release, there's gotta be some Easter eggs, references, and allusions that most of us missed at launch. Well, that's what we're gonna look at today, as we take a look at 10 tiny details you may still have missed in Fallout 4. Starting off, Diamond City is the Commonwealth's largest and most prosperous settlement. Built out of the ruins of Boston's historic Fenway Park, the in-game location does indeed share quite a few similarities with the famous stadium we all know and love in the real world. But, in certain circumstances, the accuracy and attention to detail can really blow you away. One such example is that of the Lone Red Seat. For those of you who don't know, in the real world, Fenway Park is known to have a special chair amongst its stands, called the Lone Red Seat, that sticks out amongst all the other green ones, as it's, well, painted red. The reason for this is to highlight a particularly important moment in the ballpark's history, when in 1946, Red Sox batter Ted Williams hit the park's longest ever home run that sent a ball flying 502 feet into the stands. That ball ended up bouncing off a fan's hat, and to commemorate the moment, Fenway Park decided to paint the seat in which that fan sat red. Well, if you look into the right field stands of Diamond City, you can actually find a single red seat standing out from all the others. Next on the list, during Fallout 4's opening moments, shortly after creating your character, you'll receive a visit from a particular Vault-Tec representative we've all grown to love. He'll sign your character and family up for residency at Vault 111, and also ask for some personal information, which will prompt you with a menu to allocate your special points into a variety of traits. Well, if you're able to get behind that representative, which can usually only be done by disabling clipping through the game's console on PC, you'll see that on his clipboard is actually a piece of paper resembling the special menu. Now, most players will never get to see this, as from your in-game angle, you're supposed to only be able to see the back of the clipboard. But apparently Bethesda decided to do a bit of extra work to reward those of us curious enough to use console commands. Coming in at number 3, speaking of the game's start, shortly after the nuclear sirens go off, and it becomes apparent that nuclear war is broken out, you and your family will have to rush to Vault 111 to seek shelter. If you walk slow and pay attention, however, you'll notice that many of your neighbors aren't so lucky to enjoy such protection. And on your way to the vault, as well as held up outside a gate to the premises, will be a variety of horrified civilians, who aren't allowed in and seemingly are condemned to a terrible fate. But pay attention to some of their names. Mrs. Sumner, Mr. and Mrs. Donahue. This matters, as long after the bombs have fallen, and after you've left Vault 111 and are freely traveling the wastes of the Commonwealth, you may stumble upon a random encounter, in which you'll be attacked by a group of feral ghouls. But these ghouls are different. Look at their names. Mrs. Sumner, Mr. and Mrs. Donahue, your neighbors! Some of them survived the nuclear blast. Except, only kind of. For a fourth spot, allow me to introduce you to one of the most interesting super mutants you'll ever meet. No, not the milk of human kindness guy. Meet Deadeye. He's a named super mutant who can be found amongst a group of his kind living out of Fraternal Post 115. He spends most of his time sitting on a stage within the building's auditorium, listening to Diamond City radio, and just sort of hangs out there. If you're not paying close attention when you first encounter Deadeye, he may seem like any other super mutant. Just another gross monster thing for you to shoot at. However, if you look closely, you'll notice that Deadeye has a bit of a unique appearance. He wears a rag over his eyes. And assuming you don't enter the building guns a-blazing, as you approach Deadeye, rather than attack on sight, well, maybe not on sight per se, because you get the idea. But when he first detects you, instead of attack, he'll first try and scare you away. Something most super mutants would never dare try and do.
I hear you, rat! Go away!
Assuming you do not abide by Deadeye's warnings and continue to move on him, he'll pull a lever, sounding an alarm, causing other super mutants to rush to his aid, and then he'll proceed to attack you for himself. From the looks of it, this poor mutant suffered a bit of an injury, and just wanted to be left alone. Despite his weakness, the rest of the pack apparently has kept him around, and even still protects him. It's kind of adorable in a weird, gross way. Coming in at number 5, this one is a bit subjective, but one miscellaneous junk item the player may find is a hairbrush. These brushes can be found everywhere. But have you ever bothered to look at one up close? Because on the back of these brushes, there appears to be a decal that heavily resembles the physical form of Hermias Mora, the Daedric Prince of Knowledge in Bethesda's Elder Scrolls franchise. Now, perhaps this could be something else, like a weird Cthulhu monster or whatever, but that would still be a weird thing to put on a hairbrush too, so I'm keeping it on this list. Sixth, this one's actually going to be really quick, because it doesn't really need an introduction. Scale traps will display a weight of 0 when left untouched. But when stepped on by the player, or really anything, scales will quickly read the word dead before exploding. Man, these raiders really went all out, didn't they? Next, as the game first begins, the player will be in a bathroom, and Nora will say the following phrase to Nate as you begin to customize your character.
War never changes.
You're gonna knock him dead at the Veterans Hall tonight, hun.
You think?
Well, we're gonna head back to Fraternal Post 115 for this one, the place where Deadeye lived. Let's inspect this location a little bit more. It seems as though a presentation was about to occur, and there's a large amount of American symbols throughout the building. Now, this is where stuff begins to get really cool, because if you head upstairs, inside a small room, you'll find a terminal. Access it, and read the file labeled Speech Memo. It reads that insert character name, mine was personally Person McPlayerface, was slated to give a speech at Concord, and that the Fraternal Post should book you as well. That speech in Concord was presumably the Veterans Hall Nora mentions earlier in the game. An amazing Easter egg by Bethesda, in my opinion. Coming in at number 8, the Museum of Witchcraft in Salem is a pretty spooky place. But we're not going to be going inside today. Instead, outside of the building, near its north edge, lies a rock. Now, this may not be the most surprising development, but hear me out. As if you approach this special boulder, you'll find that it's more than just a few pounds of earth, as the rock is in fact hollowed out and is a secret container. Inside will be some pretty nice loot, as well as a note. The note reads, S. Been too long. Sorry I missed you at Megaton. Looks like history repeats itself. But as promised, here's the gear I scrounged up. All the best, stay safe. The Commonwealth is its own kind of hell. Signed, E. Now, anyone who's played Fallout 3 will immediately recognize that name Megaton as the largest city in the capital Wasteland that you may or may not have blown up. And this is a reference to Fallout 3. But the Easter egg actually goes much deeper than that, however. As if you load up Fallout 3 and head just south of Megaton, the player can find none other than a hollowed out rock, with some loot inside, as well as a holotape, titled As Requested, which read, quote, S, here's that stuff you wanted. If anyone asks where you got it, say it was a gift from your grandma. Happy hunting. Signed, E. Whoever these S and E characters are and what they're doing moving across the wasteland is a secret only Todd Howard knows, and Todd isn't talking. Getting close to the end here at number 9, meet Manta Man. He's a random encounter the player may have throughout the ruins of the Commonwealth. He doesn't say much, but he's an individual that has convinced himself he's indeed Manta Man, a famous comic book superhero. It's unclear what this vigilante's real name is, or why he's gone so, well, not entirely sane. And he's not particularly good at fighting off enemies either. But I literally just had this encounter by accident for the first time when making this video, and thought I'd throw him in, so here he is. And finally, last on our list, Old North Church can be found near the center of Boston's Quincy district. It leads the way to the headquarters of the Railroad, an organization seeking to liberate synths from the Institute, yet save them from the clutches of the Brotherhood of Steel as well. Well, as many of you know, Old North Church is very much a location in the real world, and it's famous for being the staging point for Paul Revere's ride hundreds of years ago. Interestingly, inside the church's tunnels in Fallout 4, you'll find a variety of gravestones. But some of them are actually very much existent in the real church as well. One example is the grave of someone named Shubael Bell, who died in 1808. This same tombstone exists in the real church. The man was born in 1766 and was a captain of an artillery company. Not too much else is known about him, but I find it remarkable that Bethesda went so far as to make sure they got the gravestones right as well. Personally, I think this might actually be my favorite. But with that, we are going to wrap up. 10 tiny details you may have missed in Fallout 4. Now, just in case, never fear, we're still definitely going to continue uploading Skyrim content. I just really wanted to try out Fallout 4, mainly so I could justify playing the game so much and say it was for work or something. But thanks for stopping by, everyone. Which of these on this list were your own personal favorites? I already gave mine away, but what are yours? Also, what tiny details or Easter eggs do you know in Fallout 4 that I haven't covered in this video? Maybe we'll do a part 2. Again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like ratings are as always very much appreciated, and I hope I can catch you all in my next one. Peace out, everybody.